This is Land of Havilah, Psalm 31. It's 24 verses. Verse 1. For the chief musician, a psalm by David. In you, Yahweh, I take refuge. Let me never be disappointed. Deliver me in your righteousness. Bow down your ear to me. Deliver me speedily. Be to me a strong rock, a house of defense to save me. For you are my rock and my fortress. Therefore, for your name's sake, lead me and guide me. Pluck me out of the net that they've laid secretly for me, for you are my stronghold. Into your hand I commend my spirit. You redeem me, Yahweh, God of truth. I hate those who regard lying vanities, but I trust in Yahweh. I will be glad and rejoice in your loving kindness, for you have seen my affliction. You have known my soul in adversities. You have not shut me up into the hand of the enemy. You have set my feet in a large place. Have mercy on me, Yahweh, for I am in distress. My eye, my soul, and my body waste away with grief. For my life is spent with sorrow, my years with sighing. My strength fails because of my iniquity. My bones are wasted away. Because of all my adversaries I have become utterly contemptible to my neighbors, a fear to my acquaintances. Those who saw me on the street fled from me. I'm forgotten from their hearts like a dead man. I'm like a broken pottery. For I've heard the slander of many, terror on every side. While they conspire together against me, they plot to take away my life. But I trust in you, Yahweh. I said, you are my God. My times are in your hand. Deliver me from the hand of my enemies and from those who persecute me. Make your face to shine on your servant. Save me in your loving kindness. Let me not be disappointed, Yahweh, for I've called on you. Let the wicked be disappointed. Let them be silent in Sheol. Let the lying lips be mute, which speak against the righteous insolently with pride and contempt. Oh, how great is your goodness, which you have laid up for those who fear you, which you have worked for those who take refuge in you before the sons of men. In the shelter of your presence you will hide them from the plotting of man. You'll keep them secretly in a dwelling away from the strife of tongues. Praise be to Yahweh, for he has shown me his marvelous loving kindness in a strong city. As for me, I said in my haste, I'm cut off from before your eyes. Nevertheless, you heard the voice of my petitions when I cried to you. O love Yahweh, all you his saints. Yahweh preserves the faithful and fully recompenses him who behaves arrogantly. Be strong and let your heart take courage, all you who hope in Yahweh. Comment: just before Jesus breathed his last on the cross, he said in a loud voice, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit, John 31:5. It was a quote from verse 5 of this psalm, but as we look through the psalm to see if anything else particularly applied to Jesus or to David, we see most of it's in generalities, such that the psalm could apply to any God-fearing person with enemies or troubles. The first 22 verses are a prayer. The speaker needs deliverance in verse 2. As it turns out, he's caught in a net laid secretly by his enemies in verse 4. He's also suffering from his own iniquity in verse 10. There are multiple other concerns that touch on just about every human misery there is, trouble of every kind and sort, so that this is a good psalm for whenever anyone's at a low point. In verses 1 to 22, it's for anyone who needs refuge, defense, a rock to stand on, a fortress of safety, God's leadership and guidance, extraction from a difficulty, a stronghold, relief from affliction and adversity, deliverance from enemies, mercy, and relief from distress, grief, sorrow, sighing, weakness, and sin. It's for anyone who's wasting away, whose neighbors hold him in contempt, who's been dropped by his acquaintances, who's being treated as a pariah so that the people on the street run the other direction, who's been forgotten by his friends like he's dead and gone, who feels shattered like pottery, who's been slandered all around, who's terrified on multiple fronts, who's been conspired against, who's the subject of conspiracy to murder, who's being persecuted, and who's being slandered. Answers in Yahweh appear throughout the psalm. In verse 5, you redeem me, Yahweh, meaning thanks to Yahweh, I'll be making a comeback. In verses 7 to 9, Yahweh sees what's happening and will deliver me and will have mercy on me. In verses 14 and 15, amid all this, I trust in you, Yahweh. I said, You are my God, I'm in your hand. In verses 19 and 20, how great is your goodness which you have laid up for those who fear you. In the shelter of your presence you'll hide your saints from the plotting of man. You'll keep them secretly in a dwelling away from the strife of tongues, meaning all this threatening and slandering won't affect them. It'll be to them like it doesn't exist. And in verse 21, He'll show me His marvelous loving kindness in a strong city, meaning He'll relocate me in the spirit like I'm living in a different place. In verse 22, I said in my haste, I'm cut off from before your eyes. Nevertheless, you heard the voice of my petitions. In other words, I spoke too soon. I thought you cut me off and weren't listening the way things were going, but it turns out you were listening. My bad. I should have kept my confidence. Then the last two verses are an exhortation to the listener. Now that the speaker's been to the depths and found Yahweh was with him, he wants all of us to keep our confidence. Quote, Be strong and let your heart take courage, all you who hope in Yahweh. Psalm 32 is next.